Hi everybody! So yesterday we were talking about graphing points in the coordinate plane, and so today we're just going to talk about a little extension of that. If you pretend that your home is right here at the origin at the point 0, 0 on the coordinate plane, and that the library is 5 miles from your home and the post office is 6 miles from your home, we want to know what is the distance if I go straight from the library to the post office. How many miles will that be? Now, if you look at the coordinate plane here on the y-axis, if I want to know the distance from my home to the library, I can just count the squares up and I can see it's exactly 5 squares, and so that tells me 5 miles. And the same thing for the post office, it's along the x-axis and I can just count the squares again. But the distance from the library to the post office is diagonal, so I can't just count across the squares because it's not going along one of the axes. So it turns out if you look at this, you can see the x-axis and the y-axis form a right angle, so this is actually a right triangle right here. And so I can use the Pythagorean Theorem to find this distance from the library to the post office. So the way that I would do that would be to set up my Pythagorean equation, and I can see that the distance from the library to the post office is the hypotenuse of the right triangle. So I am going to write this. Remember, the Pythagorean theorem says that a squared plus b squared equals c squared, where a and b are the lengths of the legs of a right triangle and c is the length of the hypotenuse. So I'm going to substitute in the lengths of the two legs. A squared would be 5 or 6, it doesn't really matter, so I'll write that as 5 squared plus 6 squared, and that is going to equal c squared, which I don't know. So 5 squared is 25, plus 6 squared is 36, and that's still going to equal c squared. So I'm going to add 25 and 36, and that will be 61 equals c squared. And I don't know what that square root of 61 is, so I'm going to go ahead and use my calculator. And let's see, 61 square root, there it is. And so if I round this to the nearest tenth, I can see that, so now I've taken the square root of both of these, and I can see that c would be equal to about 7.8. And so the distance from the library to the post office would be about 7.8 miles.
I didn't know the Pythagorean theorem could do that. It's explosive.
So what I would like you to try to do for tomorrow, and think about how you can draw in a right triangle and do this. I want you to try and figure out the distance between this point and this point, using the same idea that I just used in the example before. And there's no form to fill out for this video or anything else. You just need to come to class prepared with what you think is the solution to this problem. All right, have a good night.